Welcome back to Dice to Pixels. We've checked all the pipes here for more Xbox leaks and we didn't find any. So we'll talk about the ones that we know so far.
That was great, actually. So holy crap.
Well, yeah, I should have like leaks and as well as this this
well,
merger news as well.
there's leaks and non-leaks. So for like 3 or 4 weeks there, like last week there was a little bit, but for like 3 or 4 weeks there's been like not a lot of gaming news, and then like all of a sudden this week, like fucking
gaming news diarrhea.
Yeah, when it rains it pours. So
that was a pretty big pipe.
Yeah. So we'll start with the merger because the merger is both simple and not simple. So first of all, the CMA in the UK has decided that with the changes that Microsoft has decided to make, the big one being that Activision will sell off the cloud gaming rights to Ubisoft or some other third party. Right now it sounds like Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Before the sale to Microsoft completes, and the CMA seems to have said that's cool. There's one thing in particular in that I think some people didn't catch that I noticed was interesting. Part of that agreement is that Microsoft will agree to port existing Activision games to non-Windows systems, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And they will also be on the hook to provide support to emulators when requested, which is also interesting because there's been open source projects like Wine for a very long time that is Windows emulator for Linux, depending on how you want to pronounce that. And they've gotten no help at all from Microsoft. Now, I don't know if this will apply to Wine, but if it does, that's going to be very interesting. And then Steam obviously has their Windows emulator that runs on the Steam Deck and such. So that part of the deal is actually more interesting to me than the cloud services stuff. But it would be very interesting to see Microsoft be legally on the hook to support Windows emulators.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something I ever thought. That was not on my bingo card. But that's what it looks like right now for the UK. And then my understanding is the FTC has pretty much given it the go-ahead. So
yeah,
in theory, we are just about to see Microsoft finally buy out Acquisition.
Yeah, and
Activision, right?
Yeah, because approvals can't be that far behind over here anyway in the NA.
I'm pretty sure they've had sort of provisional approval. Like there's some I's to dot and T's to cross, but my understanding is that behind the scenes, at least, it's been sort of when the UK stops being jerks, we'll sign the paperwork. So
yeah.
So that should happen soon, but soon being government agency soon. So it could be another 6 to 8 months at least. So we'll see.
Yeah. And then the leaks started pouring out.
Yeah. Well, so actually we should start with the leak about the exiting the gaming industry in 2027, only because it kind of ties into the cloud gaming stuff. So did you guys hear about this, first of all?
I didn't hear about this one.
So this was not a leak. This was actually testimony in the FTC proceedings or the CMA, whatever merger proceedings. This was actually Phil Schneider's testimony. Was basically, he said, there was sorry, let me backtrack just a little bit. We had seen, and we posted this to Discord, but I think this is actually since the last episode, was the leak about the new Xbox.
Yeah, I posted the new system, anyway.
So we'll get into that a little bit more, but and I'll let you run that one, Chad. But one of the slides in there, you'll remember, was the projections of the market.
Yep.
So it had like sales projections. And basically his testimony was, if that chart is what we see, we're going to exit the gaming industry. That's not good enough. And what that chart showed, we'll probably have a link to it somewhere down in the description. But what that showed was console gaming was worth about half of their sales. I forget the exact numbers, but that's not really important. And then between PC gaming and cloud gaming, that made up the other half, pretty much even. So each of them was about a quarter. And he basically said that if the PC and cloud gaming didn't grow to be the majority of their users, of their gamers, that would be a failure and that they would probably exit the industry.
That doesn't make sense to me, really.
It's a little weird. So there's a
Mhm.
couple of things to keep in mind. One, this is part of a merger testimony. He's going to play it up, and
Yeah.
he's going to cry and cry me a river, and everything's
Yeah.
doom and gloom. But the fact that they expect those two industries to grow is very interesting
Mhm.
because those two are like cloud gaming. Everybody says cloud gaming's like set to take off and everything. So far, we've not really seen that.
Yeah.
There's like the initial growth from like a new technology, fine. But I mean, how many cloud gaming services have gone to obscurity or straight up closed like Stadia?
Yeah.
So that one's weird to me. And PC, I don't think PC gaming has grown basically at all in the last few years.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I don't know if like the Steam Deck kind of.
Oh, that's a good point. I don't know what it
'cause I
would
think-
count as.
I mean, I would consider it somewhat PC.
Yeah,
I guess because like
it kind of
right?
like straddles it.
Yeah, like I mean, it's still effectively a console hearsay, but it's a PC. It's PC architecture, right? Like
Yeah, I
And-
mean, they would count it as PC in
Yeah.
their metrics for sure.
yeah, I look at it like that anyway. More PC, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine that would kind of boost things. Like they
Yeah.
had to have got it and the Steam Decks had like what 2 sales now.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I should clarify. Like the entire gaming industry is growing. So
Mhm.
like yes, there are more PC games being sold now than there were 5 years ago, but as a percentage of the market, I'm not sure it's grown. Like I know the number has, but I'm not sure the percentage has.
Yeah.
But Steam Deck and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But considering how fast PCs age out,
Yeah.
to buy a PC that's able to, if you're interested in AAA games, to handle AAA games within a year and a half, it's not going to be able to handle the next AAA game.
Yeah, well, and I mean to that point exactly, like that was the selling feature of cloud gaming is
Mhm.
like, hey, we understand that it's a pain in the ass to do PC gaming, so we'll make it simple by doing it in the cloud. So like, fair enough. So to then say like we expect PC gaming to grow is like, really?
Yeah.
Because I don't.
No.
And personally, I mean, you can go back and look at previous episodes where I've gone on rants about cloud gaming, but I think cloud gaming is not that it's going to go away, but I don't think it's ever going to take off.
No.
It'll always be an option
Mhm.
because there will be some people that it works well for, but I don't think we'll see.
I feel like it is the gaming industry's version of 3D movies.
A little bit. Yeah. It when it works fine, but at best it's fine.
Yeah.
And especially with cheaper and cheaper consoles. Like I mean the Steam Deck, like there are games that it doesn't run obviously.
Well,
But
yeah, and like even like we talked about it before. Like I remember I tried Everspace 2 on it, ran like shit.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 is playable on it, but
doesn't
it
run
doesn't
well.
run to the specs that it should. The
Mhm.
beauty that you can see it in.
Yeah.
A lot of the smaller like 2D games, like I mean, obviously
They all
Sea
run
of Stars
fine, yeah.
run fine. Like you're not gonna have an issue with that or the Messenger or whatever. But yeah, like it's limited. And actually, I read something not that long ago talking about a successor to it, like already.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
It's due for one, especially since because the classic thing with the Steam Deck, any portable like that, you're mostly fighting heat.
Mhm.
Like it's not the components that cause, like you can put in spicier components and it'll just cost more, but you can only do that to a point, and then it's like, well, now we have too much heat to get rid of.
Mhm.
And
it
the
does get hot.
Right, like
Yeah.
the Steam Deck, they were there for their heat architecture. They are right at the limit because it
Mhm.
gets pretty freaking warm when it's playing something like Stray. But now, 4 or 5 years after, like it only really became truly available in the last couple of years,
Yeah.
but it's been out for 4.5, I think, almost.
Wow.
I think so, because it
Yeah,
was
look
out
it
for
up.
a full year before anyone could really buy it to begin with.
Mhm.
Didn't it drop during the pandemic?
I don't think so. Maybe Sarah's looking it up. She'll tell
Yeah.
me I'm wrong.
February 26th or 25th, 2022?
Oh, okay.
No, that can't be
It
right.
can-
No, because we
That's
only
not
got
true.
ours a year ago.
Yeah, there's no way that's
Well,
true.
the 1 year we got ours on its 1 year anniversary, which was Yeah, so that makes sense. Maybe when it was available to the public.
Yeah,
But
because
yeah,
there was
like
that
we bought
pre-order system, wasn't there?
yeah, we bought ours on its 1
Well,
year
that's what
anniversary.
I'm saying. Like I'm not talking about like when you could easily get it. I'm talking like when they built it, right? Like it was not whether it was officially released on the 2022, they announced it and showed it off. Like it existed as a product before that. So, and the way PC stuff works, like honestly, even if it's only a couple years old, that's still true. But especially if it's probably at least 3.5, be like from the first one that was built for testing. And in those 3 years, like you can go bigger. I mean, cell phones go bigger every year because they can get more heat, more in for the same amount of heat. Steam Deck, same thing. They just don't want to like flood the market with get the 2023 Steam Deck and then buy another one next year and another one next year. So, but it's time for them to be thinking about a refresh.
Yeah, I'm looking at an article here, and it said that the pre-orders for Steam Deck open July 16, 2021.
That sounds more like it.
That's more what I was expecting.
And then you consider another 6 to 8 months before that for like when it was first built.
Yeah.
That sounds more like it.
So yeah. So PC.
PC games.
Yeah.
And cloud gaming. So anyways, that was the interesting part to me was that I think that if he's legitimately true, whether I don't believe they're going to leave the gaming industry, but if that's their expected target, if he's telling the truth about that, they're going to be sorely disappointed, I think. So,
yeah.
Anyways, take it away, Chad.
Well, even a bunch of the leaks that they released when they considered the next generation of consoles to start. On the chart that they gave here, 2028 is when the Xbox Series XX, I guess, will come out. The
Series X.
The Series X, right?
Ooh.
So they've said that there was stuff in here saying dev kits would be sent out in 27 for launch in 28. And then they also had like they actually have some specs here for it in the chart, but then they also had a bunch of games that are going to be released, and some notable ones were an Oblivion remaster, Elder Scrolls 4.
Yeah, so this is a sort of a separate leak. This is the Bethesda timeline that you're talking about.
Oh yeah. Well, it's all Microsoft now. Anyway.
It is, but yeah. So this was just for some context. This was circa 2020. So, for instance, when we talk about any dates that we talk about here, keep in mind that on this chart, Starfield was supposed to come out in 21. So, add a couple years to anything. But Oblivion 6 was on there.
Yeah, Oblivion remaster. They had a Fallout 3 remaster in here. Like just a bunch of
Elder Scrolls
6 would be 24, but we've already heard that that's probably not going to be until like 25 or 26 now.
Oh, at least. Yeah. Well, like I said, add at least 2 years. Like we're running 2 years behind as is, so add at least 2 years to any of those dates. Yeah.
So some of those games kind of like the Oblivion remaster, I was just like, okay, well, I could just play Skyrim. Like
yeah. Depending on how they remaster it, that like if it's a proper remaster with like
a completely new like in the Starfield engine or
what I would hope to see, although I was hoping to see this for Starfield, is them create a new engine for Elder Scrolls 6 and use Oblivion as the tech demo for it. That's what I would do if I were Bethesda in this situation. Put out a game that has a lot of nostalgia around it, that no matter what we do, people are going to like it because it's going to be a massive update and a massive improvement. And we can shake out bugs in the engine and anything else with that title and fix them before we release Elder Scrolls 6. That's what I would do. Whether that's what they're going to do, who knows? But,
yeah. So yeah, some of those were interesting.
Yeah, I mean the new series coming out in 2028 is interesting. It's a little ahead of schedule for what they were, because they had basically said that they expected the new series of Xbox to be a 10-year system.
Yep.
I mean, 8's in the neighborhood, but still.
But they have an Xbox Series X refresh in here.
Yes.
That's codenamed Brooklyn. It's actually like a cylinder and it's diskless. So it's a Series X without the disk drive, more or less.
They increased the corner radius.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, it's sleek. It still looks like a modem, but it does.
No, it does.
It has so some specs for this thing: 2 terabytes.
Yeah.
Because it's of course no disk drive, so everything's going to be on the damn thing.
Yeah.
USB-C front port,
Mm-hmm.
which yay.
Yeah,
Wi-Fi
that's good.
6E radio, okay. Improved Bluetooth capability, reduced power, more efficient standby mode, and it's going to come with this updated controller. And so far here they're saying it's going to be $499. That's American, I'm assuming.
Yeah, which I suspect that's probably true.
Yeah.
So there's 2 things. If I remember, I'm not looking at it right now, but if I remember that correctly, there was the wireless too, like the controller communication protocol is going to be updated.
Xbox wireless too. Yep.
Yeah, which could be interesting. And then the thing that you'll care about most with the controller is the replaceable thumb.
Well, I mean, I have that with the Elite controller anyway, right?
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see that on the base model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also too, like it looks, it reminds me more a bit of if they took a Stadia controller and an Xbox controller.
It does look a lot.
And merged it around, because it doesn't have like the profile like an Xbox controller has. Like if you ever see a Stadia controller, it literally looks like it's just 2 handles.
Yeah. On a rectangle,
yeah. So this one looks kind of similar to that, but they're also adding haptic feedback, which the PlayStation 5 DualSense controllers have.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of surprised by this, and I'm wondering what the turnaround is going to be, because I'm pretty sure this was targeted for 24.
Yeah, it's supposed to come out in 2024, and usually their hardware stuff is pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
You don't tend to see a lot of delays on that stuff. Not when it gets to this point internally. So
yeah,
probably.
Yeah. I mean, the controller alone, I just got like another Elite controller.
Yeah.
The one I had it for
2019.
Yeah, so I've had it for a while, and I've noticed the right bumper, which I know there's an easy fix for. I can just spray that with something, but the A button, it hasn't been working properly either.
Yeah.
I got a new one, whatever, and like everything works with it. But I'm interested about this controller because I want to. Well, I always noticed between like the Xbox and the PlayStation, like the vibration differences.
Yeah.
And I think because like the DualShock had like the 2 different size like kind of rotors in it.
Yeah. So this adds, they're calling it percussive or percussion haptic feedback, and basically my understanding is this is the same basic idea as having like a subwoofer and a tweeter. You have one that can do the bigger motions and one that can do the finer motions, so it gives you a wider range of stuff that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that this controller has that is supposed to have anyways, that could be interesting is the direct to cloud. So depending on how they do this, the idea being that your controller will talk directly to the Game Pass, like the Xbox cloud gaming stuff, and won't have to go through your computer and then out. I bet that's going to be a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
It could be useful for certain things. So one of the places that would be potentially useful is on devices like a Chromecast that doesn't have much processing power. You can have the controller talk to the cloud, and you can have the Chromecast stream from the cloud, and the two don't really need to talk. But at the same time, if there's any difference in lag between those two, you're kind of fucked.
Yep.
So that should be interesting to see.
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about this before with the cloud service. It's like when we were doing like the streaming of just trying a random Game Pass roulette, and just running the cloud through a wired internet connection. It was like instant.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I've never had an issue where I thought that direct to cloud control was important. And I'm probably missing an obvious use case that people are going to be like, oh no, this is why it's important. But I don't know. It's people have kind of like, it's called out as a feature and people have kind of latched onto that. But I'm like, I feel like that's going to be a clusterfuck if it works at all. Maybe not. And then the other thing, which I mean, some people have been like, oh, it's about time. Personally, I don't really care, is the lift to wake stuff, which I'm pretty sure comes with the Xbox Wireless too.
Mhm.
So it can go into a deep sleep, and then when you pick it up, it'll just reconnect.
Oh,
So you don't have to like press the button and screw
well,
it.
I mean, that's so difficult.
Right. This is my thing. I'm like, oh no, I have to press the button.
Oh my god.
You mean when my cat bumps it, it doesn't turn on? Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, yeah. I mean,
It's cool.
yeah.
I mean, any new game system is exciting. They seem to be playing it pretty conservatively on a lot of this stuff, which I think is fine.
Yeah. Phil Spencer had a statement. He didn't deny any of it, but he mentioned in it how, well, I'll just quote it. Quote, we've seen the conversation around old emails and documents. It is hard to see our team's work shared in this way because so much has changed and there's so much to be excited about right now. And in the future, we will share the real plans when we are ready.
Yeah.
So,
That's kind of smart.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously these are old plans. It's things will change, but at the same time, probably not like seismic shifts sort of thing. So you can pretty much take this kind of stuff to the bank and expect that it's going to be pretty similar.
yeah. The one thing I'm actually I'm not really puzzled about it, but they just announced the 1 terabyte Series S, like the cloudless. They just announced
Yeah, but that's
that.
for next year.
I know, but they just announced that.
Yeah.
And now they're doing like the 2 terabyte like Series S disc. You know what I mean? Like it's, yeah. I'm probably just talking on my ass, but
Well, but because the X refresh is the 2 terabytes.
yeah,
And the S refresh is the 1 terabyte.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean that's
and the new controller, I guess too. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the new S will still not be the powerhouse of the X, right?
Yeah.
Like it has a bigger drive and that's good, but it's still not. It doesn't have the power of the X.
Yeah.
It's a little weird that they didn't do them at the same time.
yeah,
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not weird that the X has a bigger hard drive. It's just weird that they didn't do them at the same time.
and it's also kind of ironic too that Microsoft, I think it was with the Xbox One, how they had like the DRM big fiasco that basically lost them that console generation.
Yeah.
And now here we are, pretty much pushing Xbox Series X's that aren't going to have any physical media.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't care.
yeah,
I don't like most of the games I buy now are like discless.
yeah.
So
Well, especially too, if they want their cloud gaming to expand as well, it makes more sense for them to move everything to a diskless format.
I think
So-
everything's going to be that eventually.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's 5 years from now or 50 years from now, we will get to a point where the idea of physical media in general is, borderline laughable, except for like archival storage. We're for a lot of things where, I mean, can you imagine the idea of like saving photos to a thumb drive to give to a friend instead of just shooting them over via text message or whatever? Like we've moved past that. And
Not everyone has.
okay, most people have moved past that. And the same is becoming more and more true for games. Like, yes, for some people, 120 gigabyte game is still a big download. For us, like we all have gigabit internet now. Like, I mean, it's not that big a deal. And, it won't be that long before we have 100 gigabit internet. Again, it might be 5 years, it might be 20 years, but at some point this is going away. So like, whether you want to keep fighting the fight for physical media, like I like physical media. We've talked about it before. I like the permanency of it. I like that you can always get the original version of it and everything else. But like at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense in today's world, and definitely in tomorrow's world, it just doesn't make any sense. Especially, I don't know if we're ready to dovetail into this, but this actually dovetails.
Before we do,
go ahead.
Last time we were talking about physical media versus cloud or whatever, I had mentioned that you can't find Airheads anywhere really to watch online other than we went up to my parents' place that weekend.
They have it all.
I have a copy of Airheads at home now.
Perfect. So what I was going to say, the dovetail, I had the NVIDIA, the new DLSS technology on here. So I won't bore everybody with details, but basically this is a new way of doing ray tracing that leans on a finely tuned, like machine learning AI sort of system to guess the fill in for ray tracing. Because the way ray tracing works in games is they shoot out some photons, they track some photons through the bounces and everything else, and then they fill in the rest. They guess at the rest. This is a much superior version of guessing at the rest. And importantly, this requires a lot less processing power. It's different processing power, but a lot less. And my understanding is it's a much more compact way of doing it, I guess would be the way that I would say it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it'll be that long before we see the same sort of stuff. There have been games that have tried this in the past with textures. So you won't have textures for leather in the game. You'll just have descriptions of what it is, and then you'll have a fine-tuned model that will generate the texture based on your descriptions.
Mm-hmm.
And that will allow you to pack like all kinds of textures and everything into very compact and very repeatable languages that the system can then build out from there. I don't think we're that far from getting into that kind of stuff. And at that point, I mean, theoretically, games could become considerably smaller, and then, you may literally just download games as you play them.
Jesus.
I mean, especially with connection speeds getting faster.
Yep.
There are games that have done this. Like there was a game, I forget what it was called, but the developer challenged themselves to write a game. I forget what system it was, but basically in the memory space of one of the older systems. I want to say a Commodore 64, but I don't know that that's correct. And so basically everything was procedurally generated, all the textures and everything else. They would save, instead of saving a texture, they would save like a description of the texture, which then the engine could, expand on the fly. And the whole game was like 10 kilobytes or something stupid.
Oh, fuck.
And it was a fully 3D game with a working engine. I mean, it wasn't like AAA or anything crazy like that, but I don't think we're decades from that sort of thing. I think we're maybe a decade. And then I think that will be more common is everything will just sort of be described. And then the sort of, I hate to use the term AI because it's not AI, but the machine learning stuff will expand that into the game. We're quite a ways away from that on the one hand. On the other hand, the speed at which that stuff has been getting better is pretty shocking. So like, I don't think we're decades. We might be one, but, and then I think downloading games as you go. And I think the idea of having a physical media will just not only be like archaic, but like straight up laughable. It will just be like, why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah, I just hope they don't offer a service and then like try to fuck everybody over by taking more money only to backtrack on it.
Gee, what could you possibly be referring to, Chad?
Moonwalking? Oh, yeah.
So Unity just released we'll call it their final update. It is the update that they gave on this. We're recording this on Friday, and this is the actual. This isn't the like we screwed up and we'll get back to you soon. This is like they actually proposed a solution.
It's an open letter to the community, but the way it starts is basically, we're sorry.
We're sorry.
If anybody's watched South Park and the big oil spill episode, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of all the memes that was the wrong way to start that, because that meme has been floating. I mean, you posted it to our Discord.
Yeah.
Thousands of people have posted it to Twitter.
Like
that was the worst possible way to start.
And I mean, I hadn't even seen anything about it yet. And the first thing that popped into my head was like, yeah, I can see this happening. And literally, so Mark Whitten, who is he leads Unity Create, he was basically the author of this letter. And basically in the first paragraph says, I want to start with simply this. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Worst way to start if possible. But yeah, so anyways, the content, I mean, read it yourself if you're interested. We won't read it here. But the highlight is they walked back the free stuff, so the personal is going to be free, and they changed the cap to 200,000 from 100,000, and they said that they're going to cap any runtime fee at 2.5% of revenue share. Cool, fine. Those terms aren't actually that bad. If they had come out with that from the get-go,
people wouldn't have been freaking out.
Yeah, there would have been some grumpy people, but overall, whatever. Fuck it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyone who's still using the Unity engine, and unfortunately I saw a bunch on Twitter today, is a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I mostly small studios. I haven't seen anyone larger. Like I didn't see any that I recognized, but I've seen a few statements from studios that I'm like, oh, that's a studio, is it? Okay, I've never heard of you. And they're like, we're gonna continue with Unity. We're gonna keep giving them, and I'm like, why? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. My only thought with that would be like maybe they're just close to finishing on some project,
Presumably.
and it would be unreasonable for them to start again.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of people talking about that, and hey, I get it. I understand, but the problem is what they tried to do, what they wanted to do, was retroactively charge everyone for all installs of any game ever made with Unity. That was literally their initial offer. And so it's like, I don't care if you were about to click upload on the final fucking executable and release it on the Steam store. You still scrap it and build it with a different engine, because you can't take that fucking, like, anyone taking that risk deserves what comes to them. I said it last week and I stand by it.
Yeah.
If you go down that path as a studio, you deserve whatever bullshit Unity pulls in the future. That is actually one other thing that they said, which was that all of this is only going to start with the next long-term service version that they release.
Yeah. Shipping in 2024 and beyond.
But this is a company that publicly said we can add new fees and change our stuff with no requirement of consent from the developer.
Yeah.
They said this publicly. How could you possibly continue to do business with these people? Yeah. It's crazy to me. I don't get it.
No. It's like, and it's not like there isn't other options there that people can explore.
Yeah.
Or build on their own, unlike what some comments have said.
Like we mentioned that last week. Like, I mean, I was posed as a question, do we think that this will kind of make developers create their own engines to use in games like this? I think it will.
Yeah, I mean, I said that I would like to see more. And so there's two things that are coming out. Some companies are saying, like, screw it, we're just going to do it ourselves. And a lot are saying we're going to throw our weight behind, I think people generally pronounce it Godot, which is an open source engine. And that's all great. That's good. We had one commenter who, complete idiot last week, talking about how hard it was to create an engine. And hey, it's time consuming. It's not hard. It's time consuming. But
misquoted too.
Yeah, misquoted. My authoritative. Yeah. Oh, I'd like to see more. Oh, you're being authoritative. It's like, okay, yeah, thanks, asshole. But yeah, like, I've built game engines, not crazy complex ones, but I've built game engines, and it's time consuming, but it's not the end of the world. Definitely cross-platform stuff is, that's where your time sinks really come in. And, but at the same time, if you're a game studio, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you spending your time on?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, there's something to be said for I can crank out a game faster with, like, Unity. And hey, if you want to use Godot or something, great, fine, cool. But Unity has told you publicly, they have made it very clear that they are not a business you can do business with.
No.
So you leave it the fuck behind. I don't care how close you are to being done. You start over. And I don't want to seem insensitive to the people that have spent years learning Unity and become proficient with it. I get it. It sucks. Too fucking bad. This happens. And you still know how to code.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to learn a new engine.
Well, and we looked it up too, just because we were curious about what the Unreal Engine
Yeah.
what they kind of get it, and it's 5% on games that make 1 million.
Anything
Plus,
over
right?
$1 million, it
Yeah,
starts taking 5%.
Yeah, so and it's been like that for
I think forever. I don't
yeah.
know.
So
But yeah, so that was the other thing. Like 5%. Like I know a lot of people have said like, oh, 5% is a lot, and it is. But it's worth noting that, and this is probably true for Unity, to be clear. But with Unreal, that's their table stakes offer is 5%. They also specifically say in the FAQ that they are more than open to like royalty free agreements, and like they're like, we'll make a custom agreement with you. Obviously, if your game is large enough to warrant it. But
Yeah.
you know, if a studio like Ubisoft or Activision or whatever wanted to use the Unreal Engine, they're not going to be paying a 5% royalty. They're going to be signing a deal with Unreal to, you know, whatever, hundreds of thousands or $1 million a year or whatever. That's what they're going to pay, and they're not going to do any royalties. So like, it's important to note that all of these things are, you know, you can negotiate. The problem with what Unity did was they literally publicly said, we don't care if you consent. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not a business you should have. You can't do business with that.
No.
That's bullshit.
No.
And anyone who tries to going forward deserves any bullshit that they get out of it. So I was disheartened to see how many studios walked back today and said like, oh, we'll stick with Unity then. It's like, oh, you fucking idiots.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And you said there's Godot, but it wouldn't surprise me if something came within the next month. It wouldn't surprise me if something else kind of appeared.
Yeah, so it won't surprise me if once it's clear that Unity is dead, because I have to assume, like I said last week, like they were already financially in a lot of trouble, which is why they tried to do this in the first place. So I'm kind of assuming that they'll be pretty much out soon, TM, like 6 months sort of thing. At some point before that happens or after that, or right after that happens, I would assume that a bunch of the developers in Unity now conceivably would be like, let's bail and do this properly.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, there's definitely room for there's room for many more game engines.
Yeah.
But given that a lot of studios so far have said like, we're going to bail for Godot and you know, put our weight behind that and commit and contribute to that and everything. It kind of feels like the industry's moving in that way. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Like I said it last week, and I agree. Like I'm kind of expecting that any day now for somebody to be like, we're starting a new company. It's Unita. But haven't seen any rumors of that yet. So we'll see what shakes out in the next little while.
It'll be South Park Studios, and they'll call it Authorita.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, way to go, Unity.
Yeah.
How to kill your company as quickly as possible.
How to not unite with the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of killing stuff, how's so you're done Starfield now, eh?
Yeah, let's save that right for the end.
Oh, right for the end.
Okay. Yeah, we've got the other thing that I was gonna mention was the iPhone stuff. The reason we're gonna leave Starfield for the end is because there's spoilers. So I figure we'll do that right at the end. But the iPhone 15, I've seen a few articles about the fact that, you know, the iPhone 15 is the new game console. And in fairness, it kind of is. Because Apple finally got off their asses and included a USB-C port in the damn thing. I mean, Android phones have been able to do this for a long time. And the iPad Pro I've had an iPad Pro for years that can hook up to a monitor. I actually used to do that when I was streaming. Yeah. I'd use it with an external monitor. So this is not actually new, but people are sort of realizing that like, oh shit, you can like plug your iPhone into a TV and then Bluetooth game controller, and you can like play games on your iPhone, but on your TV. I mean, I've been saying this for as long as we've been doing the podcast, at least, that like phones are going to be the new game consoles. This is the way the world is moving because they can handle pretty fucking good graphics.
Yeah. There's some great games on Apple Arcade, and even those that are just on the App Store that you can pay for. Like, they're good fucking games.
And not just that, but they also have the hardware now that you can put your game into it and it acts like it has the external controller
like the
on
backbone and stuff like that.
Yeah, backbone. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. So like this is like this is not new. Like I saw articles about this, and like fair enough. Like it is new because the iPhone finally has a damn USB-C port. What the fuck were you thinking, Apple? Like that should have been there 4 years ago. But that's good. But it does seem like sort of a larger body of people are starting to realize that, like, oh shit, your phone can be a game console. It's like, yeah, no, duh. You just got that one, huh? So I'm hoping that more developers, now that it's on the iPhone, because the iPad was always a niche for gaming. Now that it's on the iPhone, I'm hoping more developers, because now Android, like I'm not trying to say like Apple adding it will cause developers to do this. It's the fact that Android and Apple phones now both have USB-C ports. I'm hoping that developers will start actually leveraging that and offering like vaguely legitimate console, because you can write, like, I know enough about Apple development, I've been doing it a while.
No.
Like you can treat an external monitor as an external monitor. You can put completely different shit on it. You can draw to it like you would like it's just a metal surface. You can draw anything you want there. So you can straight up make like an Xbox game that behaves like an Xbox game if you plug your phone into a screen and use a game controller. There's nothing stopping you from doing that on an iPhone. And same is true for Android. So I think it'll take a while, but I would love to see more developers get into that.
Could cloud gaming possibly work that way then?
Yeah, I mean, yes. So actually, I think Stadia worked on iPhones and maybe Android as well.
I know there was an app for it. Yeah,
I
did.
I think it works.
I had an app for it.
Yeah. You can absolutely do it. The problem that I've experienced, because I've tried a few different things, same problem I have with Wi-Fi is it works, but it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, who knows, right? Like it may get better.
Exactly.
There's nothing stopping Wi-Fi or Bluetooth gaming from working well, technically. I think routers need to figure out how to play ball, because I think it is the router. I think it's the way that Wi-Fi works with time sharing and everything else. I think that's what causes the problems, because when you're playing games, you want to be able to get time. You don't want to wait for the next time slice to send your controls. You want to get your fucking controls out when you want them. And there's not really any provisions for that in most of the sort of wireless protocols, which I think is one of the major reasons why wired works so much better than wireless.
So almost would need to develop like a gaming router at that point.
Well, see, the thing is, more and more routers are starting to offer gaming modes. And so like I don't want to get too technical with the Wi-Fi protocols, partly because I don't actually know them that well. But basically, when you enable QoS or gaming mode on routers, people think that it just like prioritizes that device. That's not quite right. What it basically does, based on what I know of them, is basically just ask that device more frequently if it needs a timeshare. Like gives it more opportunities to have a timeshare, and so that effectively increases performance when you have a high packet throughput from, like, for a game or VoIP or whatever. You need like that rapid fire.
Yeah.
It increases the amount of timeshare that device can have, the frequency of them, not necessarily the overall time, but the frequency of how often it can send stuff out. In theory, that can work. It just needs to be better. So, I mean, I think we'll get there.
Yeah.
But based on my experience, we're not there yet.
No.
I've tried a bunch of different routers and none of them have worked that well. So, but yeah, so shall we talk about Starfield? Because I think, no, you tell us about Sea of Stars. How did you like the true ending?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm everything about Sea of Stars. I mean, I said it in my little thank you to Sabotage in last week's episode.
Which I still need to cut and post to them, by the way.
I loved it. I have it now on PlayStation as well.
Of course you do.
Yeah, so I started playing it through on that. It's great. The true ending was fun. I was, again, like I said, I was geeking out because I seen all of these references to the messenger, and I had a great time with it.
So without spoiling anything about the ending, does it tie directly into the messenger at all in the true ending? Or?
The true ending, no,
not really.
Yeah, no, okay. It's it's just it's a standalone more or less ending for Sea of Stars.
Good.
Like in the characters that you're with and all that stuff.
I'm actually happy about that because I think it's important that studios.
Yeah, like I know the reference
for sure
for like with the main characters. Like I know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Well, there's the nods and the references and everything else,
Mhm.
and then there's like, no, we're making the cinematic universe. And
Yeah.
those are different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it was great. It was good. It finished up really well. Yeah, I was pleased with it. I was quite pleased with it.
Good. Yeah. I have not finished it yet. Even the fake ending, or the non-true ending, I haven't even gotten that far yet. I've been playing Starfield.
Mhm.
Yeah, those last two fights though are like
hard or good? Or
they're
both?
good. They're
Yeah.
good. Like they're hard, but they're also good.
Yeah.
Like the last boss is kind of is a bit of a bitch. 2-stage one,
Yeah.
but then like the last boss it's a really good one.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. I wanted to finish Starfield properly before today's recording, so that I could so that I can kind of close the door on that, because I don't
Mhm.
really want to be talking about Starfield for the next like 4 fucking weeks.
Well, I mean, if the door's closed for you right now at our house, it's a fucking revolving door because I can't decide whether I like it or hate it.
Yeah, you're not super sold on it. And
It's-
Sarah, you
yeah.
bounced.
I bounced off of it. Yeah.
It's not sucking me in like Skyrim or Oblivion or Fallout 3 did. It's
Yeah, well, one of the problems with it, I think, and I also don't know if it's totally your cup of tea for the space stuff. Like we talked about it a bit
Mhm.
earlier, but I
Mhm.
think the biggest problem you've got is just that it's not that good a game on console.
no.
It's way better on
No,
PC than console.
The 30 frames per second lock fucking pisses me off.
30 FPS, the space
this-
combat sucks on the console. Like
So
it's just
bad.
there's even just looking around to pick stuff up on the console in a room, like it takes 5 times as long
It
to loot
really,
a room.
really does.
It's
Like trying to
crazy.
aim the thing on it and having it on there correctly to pick a thing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's
Oh,
just- yeah.
no, like I when I first tried Starfield, it was on the Series X, and I posted to Discord. I'm like, I hate this game, but I'm gonna grab it on PC later, and I bet I'll like it. And that's exactly right. Like I can't play it on Xbox really, but PC is great. Well, great. It's good. I like it. It's not great.
I'm pissed off that I can't put a garbage can over fucking somebody's head and steal all their shit.
Right?
That's a joke. That's
yeah.
a joke.
There's a lack of agency, though. There is truly a lack of agency. You can do, it's the classic, you can do evil stuff, but only, well, not even evil stuff. I mean, that too, but like you can do weird stuff, but only the weird stuff that they happened to think of when they were writing the story.
Yeah.
So, before we go any further, we're going to get into some spoilers here. So, if you don't want Starfield spoilers, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next episode. If you don't care about spoilers, stick around because I want to talk about the end game and the progression mechanics and all that stuff. So,
You've been warned in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go, Adrian.
okay. So first of all, these spoilers, if you are familiar with what the NG Plus or Next Game Plus, New Game Plus means, then this probably isn't a spoiler for you. But so the way Starfield works is, and this is actually, I'm proud of the community because this has been pretty carefully, people are being good about this.
I didn't know until you told us.
Yeah, no, it's like there's hints of it, but like people are being good online. They're not just spoiling the shit out of this. So when you get to the end of the game and you defeat the Starborn, which you will meet throughout the game, and you assemble the artifact, it's called the Armillary. You go to the Unity, which is where all of the realities meet. And basically it's a rebirth mechanic. You can go to the next universe. And when you do that, you become Starborn. And you get a cool outfit that is like your boost pack and spacesuit and helmet all in one. And it's awesome and it's great. And you get a new starship, which is the Starborn starship. And it's cool and it's great. And it's better than most of the starships you've had. All super cool. And then everything resets. You lose all your items. You keep all your levels, your skills, everything else. And I think you keep the stat boosts that you get from those like magazines that you pick up.
Mhm. Yeah, that's permanent. They're permanent.
Pretty sure those carry over. But everything else you lose, all your outposts, items, everything. And you start orbiting the first planet that you would normally start on, but in your new ship with your new jumpsuit on. And your first quest is to go to the lodge. And then it gets interesting because the universe is different. So when you go in, it's not the same universe that you left. So one of the universes that I went into, and unfortunately this one is bugged to shit, Constellation's dead. Everybody but Vasco is dead. You go into the lodge and Vasco greets you and is like, hey, how's it going? Everybody's dead but you. I really wanted to play that universe, but unfortunately it's bugged to the point that you can't save in that universe, or at least some of the time that universe has issues. You can't access your inventory and you can't save. Like even if you exit the game, it won't save. So that was a bit of a bummer. But so the idea is you do this and then you can skip the main quest or you can repeat it, but who's going to repeat the main quest really? And you can do this and you go through like 9 different cycles. And then after like 9 cycles, you can still rebirth and everything, but it just, you've reached the max power. Every time you do it, you get a better jumpsuit and a better ship. Up to a point anyways. And it's cool because you get new dialogue options and you get new quests. And I'm pretty sure the one universe had a city that wasn't there in the original universe. And like, I was impressed. I was like, good job, Bethesda. That's great. If it weren't buggy, this would be really awesome. But I got bored with it really quick because you're so by the time that I got to the second universe, I was so fucking powerful because I made a mistake in the first universe. There's a pivotal point in the game where you have to either side with the hunter or the emissary. You'll know what it is when you get there, and you can tell them both to fuck off, which is exactly what I did. But that makes the final space combat that you do like way harder. And so I had to level up to like 50 something, 55, 50 or so in order to just beat that space battle, just to get all of my pilot certifications and weapon certs and everything else, just to get powerful enough to kick these guys' ass. Because you got to fight 3 of them if you do it that way. And so like I rebirth and I'm like, cool, I'll grab, like they give you a pistol. And I'm like, cool, I can beat the game with that pistol. That's fine. Like literally the one round I beat the game just to see if I could. And maybe I'll actually record this and post it because it won't be that long a video. I beat the game with the 12 rounds in the pistol that they gave me to start with.
Oh my God.
The EDN. The EDN, yeah.
They give you, at least in the one universe, and I don't know if this is true, like I think probably the equipment you get is different too, but in one universe they give you a modified Eagle, which takes, I think it's the .74 mag ammo, but it has a scope.
Oh, shit.
Which means it gets all of the sniper cert bonuses and everything else. So this fucking pistol ends up doing like massive damage. And I have crazy stealth, and you have the void form, which makes you invisible. So like you can just run through 90% of it, grab the artifacts, book it, kill the couple people that you need to, and you only need to kill legitimately. I think you only need to kill like 4 people, as long as you persuade in the final conversation. And so you can, as long as your stats are good enough, you can legitimately beat the second universe through with like just the pistol they give you to start with. And then if you raid the basement of the lounge, you can no fucking problem. So at that point I'm like, okay, well this is cute, but like I kind of done everything that I wanted to. So it's a bit of a shame because the end progression is a neat mechanic. I like it. It's cool. But it's like, I feel like I've already experienced everything before I got here. And like, it's super cool when you start out in your new ship and your new jumpsuit and you're like, this is awesome. And then you're like, but I was already really powerful. And now I'm just stupidly powerful. Yeah. So, but you can level up those powers that you get. Like, I don't know if you guys have even gotten to the star power. No. I confirmed with them that they were okay with spoilers before we talked about this. So you get star powers, and they're all different things. Like you can shoot like blasts of energy. One of them makes you invisible. Another one, you can sense all living things in the area. Honestly, the invisible and the sense star stuff is the only 2 you ever need. But you can in additional universes, you can like go to those temples and get like leveled up versions of those. It's cool. It's all cool. But I'm like, it's just the same stuff over again, except like, it's not necessarily like I would actually love to explore. And when they fix the bug, I'll probably play it again to get the universe where everybody's dead. Cause I'm like, that's actually cool. Like that's a neat twist. I like that. But also the other problem, and I mentioned this earlier, to you guys, is that like that one I tried to do, but I couldn't save. So it's like, well, I'm not going to risk going through the whole fucking thing and dying at the end. So I just quit it and started over. And I've now done 3 or 4 rebirths. And other than that one bugged one, I've gotten the same damn universe every time. So I'm like, so like what they need to do is they need to make it either so that when you get to NG9, which is the final one that you get the most powerful suit and everything, they either need to make it so that then you can like choose which universe you want or something. I'm not sure, but like as it stands, it's like, this is a neat idea, but the execution kind of sucks, which is really like Starfield's motto. It's like, hey, we had a great idea, but we kind of fucked it up.
The fast travel simulator.
Yeah, there's a lot of fast travel. But yeah, so I mean, I've given it a fair shake, and I really enjoyed it. There was a stream in particular that I did where I ended up going through the derelict NASA base. I think it was on the moon, but there's also some stuff on Earth, and that was great. Like I had a great time doing that. It was the best time I had during Starfield by far because it's cool. They've got all the Apollo capsule and the International Space Station and like all that stuff there. And it's like, yeah, of course you do, because like you've got grav drive, so you could just go and get all this stuff. So that's super fun. But like I said, I kind of feel like I've pretty much done it now. There's the occasional encounter that's super cool, but yeah, it's like 1 in 50 that's interesting. So
yeah, I might finish it, but yeah.
I'm glad one of us finished it at the very least.
Yeah, well, I wanted to power through it no matter what. I actually will probably play through. So I'm a bit of a degenerate here because or delinquent, however you want to say it. I said in the stream that I did when I was ending the stream, I said I won't play any more of the main quest. I'll stream the rest of the game because I had intended to. But then what happened was, because I made that bad decision, it turned out that I had to get like 13 or 14 more levels just to beat the damn thing. So I'm like, I'm not going to stream me slogging through this shit. So I just beat it. But I do intend to probably go back and either start a new game and get to that point, because I think knowing exactly what I have to do, I can do it pretty quickly. Or I'll like reload that save, get the levels I need, and then stream the rest of it. But yeah, I feel a bit bad because I did specifically say I would stream it and then didn't.
Yeah. Well, I think I might jump back into Cyberpunk and give it another go. The 2.0 update just came out, so I'm going to try and give that a proper try.
Yeah, I'm a little interested in it.
So, and then Sarah, because you were so fed up with your Starfield adventure, you decided to play the Outer Worlds.
Yeah. I wanted more.
But you're enjoying it so far.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's silly and fun and
yeah, that Outer Worlds, it's great.
Yeah.
Great game.
Cool.
And I wanted a slightly more linear version of a space game.
Yeah.
I don't like the linear sandbox games. Like that used to be like really cool, but I feel so done with it
I think
now.
we should talk about that more in detail on a future episode, because I think there's a fair bit to be said about that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right.
Ready.
Well,
before we go,
I
took the plunge and I backed a video game Kickstarter this week.
Ooh, which one?
It is called Out and About. It's very cute looking. It's a very Sarah game. It's a you go and you're living in, or you have to move into your grandmother's house because she's having a hard time and the town has reached on hard times.
And then spend all your husband's money on yarn.
No, plants.
Oh shit!
So you're foraging for plants
cool.
and mushrooms and stuff and building recipes, but they've designed it in such a way that like all of the things that you use to identify the plants are actual like identifiers for actual foraging, and all the recipes in there, they're gonna have a companion app that like gives the actual recipes for things that you can make as well. So
that's
very
cool.
cutesy, and it's reached its 100. It's 100% unlocked at this point, and some of their bonuses are unlocking now too. And
cool.
Yeah.
Well, if you're into that sort of game, going back, how much was it to back?
I got the early bird special edition, but the digital standard edition is £25 or 42 Canadian.
Oof. fuck, the Canadian dollar sucks.
Yep. Yep.
I was gonna say, oh, that's not so bad, and then, oh, geez, yeah, that's rough.
No.
Cool. Well, you'll have to keep us posted when you get it.
It's not supposed to be out for a year, but there's also like a little demo that I've downloaded already that's on Steam. So
cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're using Unity.
Let's hope not.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Take us home, Sarah.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us again this week. Tell us what you think about all this Unity insanity. What has your experience been with Starfield so far, if you're playing it?
Yeah.
What's your take on leaks? Specifically Microsoft one.
Oh, I was like, potato leek soup is delicious.
It is.
Wrong kind of leak.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for joining us again this week. We love you all. Come back next week after you've told several friends.
There you go. That's the one. Thanks, everyone.
Love you.